So what's one of the first things, Martin, that we can do to help increase the effectiveness of our communication?
Well, first you've got to get people on board. Like I mentioned with that general manager who had the very strong Glasgow accent, the company was not interested in addressing that problem. So I think that's the first thing, is you have to deal with it in a very diplomatic way. You have to find a way to talk to the HR department or to talk to the person involved, if they're open to being talked to, and broach the subject and explain how this can actually affect the bottom line of the company. That if we don't do something about this problem, then you're going to have efficiency problems, you're going to have communication problems, and the company's bottom line is going to suffer. So in terms of actually getting to the lessons of accent reduction, it ties in also with the things we're going to talk about later, about talking slower and enunciating, because a strong accent is not always that bad as long as you're not speaking very quickly.
Yes.
So if you've got a very broad accent and you're going like a machine gun, nobody will understand you. Probably not even native speakers.
Or people that are from your area who have the same accent.
Yes. So the thing is just talking to the person whose accent needs reducing and identifying the areas that you can target. Of course, because if you say to them, we have to change your whole accent, then you're going to meet a lot of resistance. It's about identifying certain words that you say that are problematic for the foreigners who are working with you. So, for example, it could be, let's take your accent. Canadian people say a boot. Sounds quite Scottish. So when I first heard that, I thought, what? Yeah? And it took me a few times of hearing it to understand that this is a very Canadian pronunciation. So I think if we say to you, look, Scott, they understand everything you say, but whenever you say a boot, they get a bit confused or a bit lost, and their mind's going and they're confused and saying, what's wrong with my English? Because I don't understand him when he says this word, a boot. What's a boot?
Yes.
So it's like identifying words that they use that are problematic for other people, and also saying to them, look, we're not saying change your whole language, but if you just focus on softening this particular word, or even if you can't, a substitute word or something like that, if you can do that, then little by little, they will understand you better. But as I said, it works hand in hand with the points we're going to talk about next, about speaking more slowly and enunciating.
One of the things that occurred to me as you were talking, Martin, was we live in this world of cell phones with cameras, and everything is on video and YouTube. And one of the things you could probably do is tell the person, okay, turn on your camera, record yourself speaking to your staff, and then listen to it. Because I'm sure that we don't realize at all what we sound like. Well, I know we don't, right? And so all of a sudden, you get this self-awareness, like, wow, that's how I talk. And I noticed that, I've done podcasting for 12 years, 14 years, something like that. And it's a long time. And when I listen to my podcasts, we would notice, we always say the word right after every sentence, or there's ums and ahs and all these different sounds that we were not aware of as we speak. So once you turn on the camera, record yourself, and then you play it back, it's hard the first couple times because we really aren't used to and aren't comfortable seeing ourselves. But then you start paying attention to how you speak, and you realize, wow, like I can't even understand me, right? Or wow, that's really fast. And then because you have the awareness, it's not even like making a list of things to change. It's you listen and you go, oh, well, I really want to speak slower. I really want to speak clearer. I really want to stop slurring my words. I really want to tone it down or stop the ums or whatever the words are that are filler words. We are not comfortable with silence.
Yes.
So we put things like ums and ahs in the silence till we're ready to continue. And so, so one of the things I would really recommend is becoming aware of how we actually sound. We think we know, but we don't.
But you could also use that YouTube video as well, the camera video. Again, it's about willingness. Are you, as a manager, willing to sit down with your colleagues or the people who work for you and go through a video and they say to you, look, I didn't understand this, I didn't understand that. That is let's say, the perfect solution. In the real world, will CEOs or general managers do that? Probably not. But in an ideal world, if they could record them speaking to their staff and then they could go through that video with the staff and they could point out, look, I didn't understand this bit and this bit and this bit. Yes, it would be wonderful. But as I'm saying, you wouldn't find many people who are willing to do that.
Right. Well, since it's an important part of this conversation, why don't we just go into the second point that we wanted to talk about, which was speak more slowly.
Yes, and this is something I've often been guilty of, speaking quickly. When I was younger, I actually had a stutter. And because I had a stutter, I felt people didn't understand me. So I would try and speak faster to get it was like an ordeal. So I would speak faster to get the whole thing over with. You know? Look,
yes.
I'm going to have to talk to them. So if I speak quickly, it finishes in 2 seconds. Whereas if I speak slowly, it's going to take forever. So I had this thing where I spoke much too quickly. And sometimes I'm guilty of that now when I get excited a little. So yes, there is this thing where the situation matters a lot. So if you're under high pressure or you're under a deadline and you want things doing, then you're just going to say, get it done now, come on, boom. You know? So you have to, though, focus on speaking more slowly, because when you speak more slowly, we talked about yourself and your students and the other teacher who found their students really appreciated the fact that they spoke slowly. Yes, it's not very natural, but it's horses for courses. So if you're at a social occasion and you're making a joke or something, if somebody doesn't understand or because you spoke too quickly, it's not that important because it's just a joke at a social occasion. But if you're explaining something that the result of getting it wrong could cost the company $10 million or something, obviously you should speak slowly and make sure that every word you say can be understood very clearly. So again, adapt to the situation. When it's a social, not so important occasion, okay, if you want to chill out and not have to mind your P's and Q's all the time, don't worry too much. But in a work situation where it's very important the person understands you, speak slowly and enunciate.
And we're going to talk about enunciation in our next lecture, because it follows very closely on the speed with which you speak and reducing your accent.